I'd like to share with you people, my audience, an experience I had, which is a testimonial where I believe God was involved. So hopefully this is something you're interested in, whether you're a believer or not. So a year ago or so, I was on my motorcycle and I got a flat on the freeway and had to pull over to the side. Now, there was really no shoulder on this freeway. It was very busy. It was very scary. There was 18 wheelers roaring by one after the other, just a very heavily trafficked stretch of freeway with mountains like this. So not a whole lot nearby, not a whole lot of help. Now I had saddlebags on my motorcycle, and on the left side saddlebag, I had a pair of shoes and a couple records, a suicidal tendencies record and a Cure record. On the other side, I had some clothes or something. So these were pretty new saddlebags I got. And I pulled over to the shoulder, and I quickly noticed that I'm in trouble here because these vehicles are roaring by. I better get on the other side. So I'm standing on the other side of the freeway, trying to figure out what to do, getting on my phone, trying to get help. And I quickly noticed that someone's going to hit my bike because there's no shoulder. My bike's just sitting on the side here. People are roaring by. It's just a matter of time before someone, clips my bike or just totals it. And at the time, that was my only form of transportation. So I was pretty nervous. And then, so I started waving cars waving them away, like, hey, go that way, merge over. Because there was actually more lanes than this in that freeway. And I was trying to warn them to merge over so they wouldn't hit my bike. And I actually ran up against traffic, and I went way up this way a ways so I could warn people a little further in advance. And then I got to realizing that not only can my bike get destroyed, but this can cause an accident as well, and people can get hurt. So then I got kind of extra paranoid, and I was really aggressively, I ran way, backwards in traffic to try and wave, especially the truck drivers, let them know, hey, my bike's up there, you better merge over. So I'm waving my hands, I'm throwing my hands in the air like, hey, go that way, kind of like they do at the airports when they sort of tell the airplane which way to go. It is very nerve-wracking, okay? And so finally a cop shows up, and he sort of brought to my attention the fact that the end of the exit of the freeway really wasn't that far. There was like a truck stop right up about this far. This looks very similar to the stretch I was on. And so he sort of, woke me up to the obvious fact that I could have just pushed it, to the end there. But it did help to have the cop there to sort of escort me off. So, but before that, he walks up to me and he goes, "Are these yours?" And in one hand, he had a pair of shoes. In the other hand, he had what was left of, I think it was my Cure record. And who knows what happened to the Suicidal Tendencies record. But the Cure record was completely the disc was like in like 4 pieces and miraculously was still inside the sleeve. But the shoes were perfectly intact. And then I looked at my bike and I noticed that the saddlebag that was on the side that traffic was roaring by was completely torn off. And other than that, there was absolutely no damage to my bike, which was actually kind of amazing to me. It's like, how did it tear that off without hurting anything else on my bike, without it moving an inch? And my rear view mirror, actually, on the left side, where the same side where the saddlebag had gotten torn off, was bent forward so that when I looked at it, I was looking in the sky. And I immediately recognized this as a sign from God, that he was saying, hey, look up, I'm here, I'm watching you, and keep your shoes on, keep your feet on the ground, and don't get carried away with this music because you're getting a little older here, and that's not maybe what you need in your life right now. And I should add also that I bought those 2 records, which I'd been wanting to get for years and years and years and just put it off. I bought them specifically to play on Halloween that year. And here's one more that happened a while back that was very interesting, gave me great pause. At the time, I was living at a place that had a gate in front of the house that had a latch just like this. And there was actually a lock inside of this hole here. So the thing is, this thing cannot lift up unless you unlock and pull that lock out. So I came home late one night and this gate was open somehow. And I was rubbing my eyes going, how is this possible? Because the lock was still in there. So the next morning I looked again and I saw that there were all these scratches on this pole. And I was just thinking, wow, did someone on PCP just yank this thing the fuck open or what? Or I just couldn't understand. It did seem physically impossible. I just didn't get it. But, whatever. I unlocked it. I put the latch back on. I put the lock back in and just sort of forgot about it. And then about, not too long after that, I told my wife about it. And my wife said, well, why don't you get a chain and wrap the chain around there? And, she was bugging me to do that. And I was putting it off. And at one point I told her, I was like, yeah, I got the chain. I just need to put it on there. But that was a lie. I hadn't gotten the chain. So, if she watches this, then she might have a chuckle because I haven't even told her this yet. So I hadn't gotten the chain yet. I lied to her. And then I came home again one day and this whole part of the fence was actually the hinge of this door was completely severed at the bottom. And this whole fence was forward and this was on the ground, and it was all, it was amazing. I couldn't, how did this happen? I mean, it was windy, but it just seemed physically like it didn't make any sense to me. And so I got very paranoid. I figured someone must have done this. So I must have some enemies or something. But there were no footprints on the ground because there's dirt around there was dirt around this fence. And I've got cameras too, and I looked in the cameras, and what was really strange is the time of day that I determined that this happened was right around sunset. And there is a point right around sunset where the sun reflects off of this fence so brightly that I can't see it for a period of time. And that seems to be the exact time that the fence went down. I talked to the neighbors, nobody saw anything, and it was just the weirdest thing. And so we hired a fence guy to fix it. And, I said, I guess the wind blew it over. And he was like, oh, no, that wasn't wind. So according to the fence guy, someone had done it. But there was just no evidence. I mean, I don't know. It was a very strange thing. And so I believe this was God who did this, who was trying to tell me that little lie you said, because if I'd gotten the chain, that probably would have prevented it, because the chain around here would have alleviated the tension that was on the hinge, at the base of the hinge pole. So I believe this was a message from God saying, I don't like those little lies you're telling to your wife, because I did have a Christian wedding, and I swore under God that, our union was to be blessed by the Lord. So I just felt that was worth sharing.